Well, Karen's going to make sauerkraut now, and we've got a red cabbage here, and she's going to take out the outside yucky leaves. We don't want any of those in our sauerkraut. And any outside leaves you take off your cabbage, just put them aside because they can be used to pack the jar once the cabbage is ready to make sauerkraut. And then Karen's going to cut the cabbage in half. Maybe a good idea to keep the band-aids handy for this job.
Well, that's better.
Yeah, upside down now.
That way?
Yeah, and you can start doing really fine slices and
That
work
way?
your way across the cabbage.
Yeah. This is much easier to work.
Yeah, but you've got to thick bits now. Yeah, aim for that really. Yeah, that's it. Now you're getting it. Yeah. And you'll be able to utilise all the cabbage. Yep.
Enough?
Right, now the fun begins. It's like, you know, old-fashioned washing, scrub-a-dub-dub in the tub. Yes.
Scrub-a-dub-dub.
Really rub that cabbage together to start releasing its own juice.
Just
And you
like-
can add a couple of pinches of salt to help extract the juice out of the cabbage, but no more than a couple of pinches is necessary.
Is that enough?
That's plenty. That's one big pinch. All right. Now you can start working. Work up a sweat. And you're getting the juice out of the cabbage.
Got to make it nice and juicy. Give
Then I want more of those chocolate bars.
No, we're not making chocolate bars here.
I'm doing this end. You're doing that end.
That's right.
A little bit squeezing. I have to.
Go on, work it. Like Karen. Massage.
Massage.
Rub it. Yes. Is there any liquid on the bottom of the bowl yet?
Not much.
Ah, it's
No.
coming bad, eh?
Not
We're
more.
really heading in the right direction here. Look how
Hey.
it's glistening. All the moisture's coming out.
Oh yeah, I can feel all the moisture.
Yes.
Leave that.
It's wonderful.
Oh, we'll pick that up. Well, Karen, you have been at it for a little while. The red cabbage, I have to say, is a little bit harder than the sugarloaf. It just tends to be a little bit drier, but look at all that lovely juice coming out now. That's great. Now it's ready to pack the jar. But we can put a little bit of flavour in, and usually I put some caraway seeds in. So let's put in a bit of caraway because it really enhances the flavour of our sauerkraut.
How much?
Just a few good sprinkles. So there.
Oh, smells lovely.
It does, yeah. It really complements it. So just work that in the cabbage a little bit. Yep. And then you're going to start filling the jar. And I do recommend you put the jar in the bowl itself. Just keeps the job a little bit tidier. So now you just transfer all that cut cabbage into the jar and press it down because it is going to be forced to be under its own liquid. So it is an anaerobic ferment. Don't try to force it all in. If the jar's a bit too small, leave some out. Just take some out, Karen. You've got to overfill it otherwise. You really want a bit of room for expansion of liquid because more liquid will form as it ferments on the bench. So even take a little bit more off. It's getting better now. Now the excess juice has to be poured into the jar because it's the juice you're really after now. Get all that lovely juice into your jar. Very good. Great. So we have a little bit of cut up cabbage left over. That's not a problem. You can always add it to some stir fry then tonight's dinner. There. So just keep forcing your hand in that jar And you can see how handy it is to have a big wide mouth jar so you can put your hand in. But if you're using a smaller jar, you can use the rolling pin to just force that liquid to come over the cabbage. I can see it's nearly halfway up there now. So you just got to keep pressing it down. It's totally in the absence of air and it must be under its own liquid. Oh, you're nearly there now. Yeah, there's a bit of persuasion needed here. And more liquid will come out as it ferments. The fibres will become softer and release more of its juice. And that's why it's important not to overfill your jar, to allow room for the liquid to come over the cabbage. I think that's pretty good. Now with any outside leaves and stalky bits, you can force that in the rest of the jar as a weight. So any of those stalky bits from over there, just cram it into the jar.
These?
Yes, yes. You can take the whole board here and just cut up into slightly smaller pieces so it can all be crammed and jammed into the jar. That might just need a little chop in half. Yep. And you just keep cramming all those bits in. And by the time it's been sitting 5 days on the bench, anything on the top will start forming a mold, but that's not a problem. It's not affecting anything that's under the liquid. Yeah, it's an anaerobic ferment in the absence of air. That's why it's so important to have the liquid forced over the cabbage. That's looking great.
You can see when I press it down, the liquid comes to the top.
So maybe a little bit more jam-packed in there to sit snugly under the lid. So nothing is going to float up above the juice.
Pack it with this.
Yeah, just cram it in. Just scrunch them in. That's it. Rough and ready. Yeah, that's great. I can see the juice there. Well and truly covering the cabbage now. Right, you can put the lid on after that. I think that's not going to go anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah. So in 5 days at room temperature, it will turn the cabbage into sauerkraut. It will be lactic. So it has that sour flavour. But you can leave it on the bench for a little longer and just keep checking it that it's still submerged under the liquid to speed up the maturing. But if you're a bit unsure about it, just at 5 days, put the whole lot in the fridge and leave it there for 2 or 3 weeks and then start testing it to see if it's to your liking.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And it will keep for many months in the fridge as long as it's under some liquid.
Mm-hmm.
And the leftover sauerkraut juice, don't ever discard it. Bottle it up and keep it handy in the door of your fridge for any time you feel a bit queasy, under the weather, car sick, anything like that. It's going to put you right.
Wow.
So rich in lactic bacteria.
Wow.
And also it can be used as an inoculant to make other ferments with.
Cool.
Precious juice.
Very much so.
Yeah.
So never throw it away.
No. All right, that's it.